I can do what I want when I want to do it. I can do what I need when I need to get through it. When I need someone else, can't be too proud for help, but gotta look after myself. Sometimes it can get lonely, never living in the moment. When the sun is shining, hope that I'm like how the clouds keep changing. I'm always steady rearranging, going back to the basics of what a good day is. What a good day is. And that's exactly what the day is, but it's exactly what you make it. So please don't go wasting, and I'll do the same, even if it's raining. How could I complain? And my feels got me feeling some type of way. You always free to take a break. Hope you feel what I felt. You gotta look after yourself. Sometimes it can get lonely, never living in the moment. When the sun is shining, hope that I'm reminded. Like how the clouds keep changing, I'm always steady rearranging, going back to the basics of what a good day is. 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 And that's exactly what the day is.
All right, it is that time. Y'all know what to do. Drop a 1 in the chat if you can hear me, and y'all should see me here in a second. Shout out to everybody who's in the building. Good to see y'all in here. Hopefully y'all are doing well this morning. Let's go ahead and get into it. Let me see how we looking up in here. We should be good. Oh, there we go. Looking all crispy and clean on the screen. Welcome, y'all. Welcome back to another YouTube live stream and another episode of The Morning Show. I'm your host, Classy Beats of ClassyBeats.com, and we're going to get into it today. We've got a lot of news to report. We got some updates on what's going on with Get Money Lil Ronnie's murder case. A lot of breaking news on that. Looks like the police are putting in the work and doing a good job of trying to locate the guys who are accused of committing this crime. We've also got some updates when it comes to Tony Busby and this Jane Doe. Ooh, it's getting ugly, man. It's getting ugly. Also, we're gonna finally start and get into this Karen Reed trial. I know I was on the fence about covering it, but the more I look into it, the more I realize how interesting this is. So we're gonna get a little bit of a refresher. I'm gonna learn a little bit more about it today, and you guys, if you haven't been following it, will learn some more too. But before I get into it, let me say what's up to the people, man. Shout out to everybody who's in the building. We got my awesome, amazing Amy is in here. Michi's in the building. My guy, Les Cleaver, is back at it. We got A Fitz is up in here too. Valencia is in the building. Shout out to Perfect Peace. Gift and memberships in there. I'll get to the super chats here in a second. Appreciate y'all. We got Blue Summers in here. Vash is back in the building. We've got Libby22, SC Girl, Brown Sugar Babe, Slim Life, Slim Life New Jersey is up in here. Shout out to Slim Life. Good to see you. Miss 86. Good morning. We've also got, oh, I know I missed a couple of y'all. Shout out to Law and Order NYC is in here. So for Real and True is in the building too. We got Keynote Dollison's in here. Walter Waller Custom and Leather is in the building too. Good to see y'all. And everybody's saying you want to get into this Karen Reed trial, so we're going to cover it. The official trial starts on April 2nd, I believe. It was initially scheduled for April 1st, from what I understand, but it's going to get moved around. We'll get into all that in a second. But if y'all could do me a favor, please make sure you like the video on your way in. Not only is it free, not only does it help the channel continue to grow, not only does it take 2 seconds, but it lets the algorithm know that you guys are enjoying the show, and it shares the video out to more people and helps us to continue to grow. All right. So thank you to everybody who's done that. Let me go ahead and read super chats. I will be reading the super chats throughout the show. And while we're in here, let me know how y'all are feeling, man. How's the weather where you're at? How are y'all doing on this Thursday morning? Also, I'm glad Les Cleaver brought this up. Shout out to Les Cleaver in the building with the 10 bomb. He says thoughts and prayers for one of our own, Mr. Brown. Yeah, definitely praying for him as he goes through open heart surgery today. God bless him and Classy and Amy E and the CEB family. This is the best channel ever. Shout out to you, Les. It's people like you that make this the best channel ever. So thank you for being here. Thank you for continuing to support. And our prayers definitely go out to Mr. Brown this morning, having a surgery that is no joke. But we have faith and we know and believe and pray that he's going to come through this successfully and have a better, more fulfilling life after this. So looking forward to hearing updates from him. I will be giving y'all updates as I hear from Mr. Brown. And y'all know, knowing Mr. Brown, as soon as he gets out of surgery, he's going to be back in the chat seeing what's going on. So shout out to Mr. Brown. I always appreciate him. And thank you for that, Les. Also, we've got Perfect Peace gifted a membership too. Thank you for that gifted membership, Perfect Peace. If you got and received the membership from Perfect Peace, please make sure that you say thank you. All right. Yeah, prayers definitely go out to Mr. Brown. We got some of y'all in Austin, Texas. Okay, shout out to Austin, Texas. I know several of you in the chat are right here in ATL as well. Where else we got y'all from? Yeah, this is gonna be an interesting day for sure. We got a lot to get to. So prayers out to Mr. Brown. Shout out to everybody that's just stopping by too. It's cold. It was chilly this morning. I'm not gonna lie. Jay Buckmaster's in here too, saying good morning. Good to see y'all. And thank you to Amy for reminding everybody to like the video. Amber Rain is up in here, always making it rain. Good morning, Amber. She says happy Thursday. Axel Wheel is in here. What's up? What's up? And Houston in the building. We got a lot of Texas people. In here. We've got, let's see, Cheerly in Maryland. Okay. We got Tampa in here, Richmond, Virginia. And Michi is also dropping 5 memberships. Shout out to Michi. If y'all got one of those memberships from Michi, make sure you say thank you. She shows up and continually supports. So thank you, Michi, for that. Shout out to Michigan in there. All right, I see y'all in here. Oh, and shout out to Axel Wheel says, I was the 100th like on this video. Thank you so much for that. We got Connecticut in the building. It's a little chilly today in Northwest Florida, but the sun is shining and not a cloud in the sky. Hey, nothing wrong with that. It was pretty this morning, but it was cold here in Atlanta. I agree. Slim Life is in the building with the 5 bomb. Just says, showing love, prayers for Mr. Brown. Yep, we're definitely going to be praying for him as well. And shout out to you. Miss 86 says she's feeling good. All right, let's go ahead and get into it. Again, thank you to everybody who's in the building. We're going to go ahead and get started with our first topic. So we reported yesterday and talked about what was going on with the tragic story of Get Money, Lil Ronnie, and his 5-year-old daughter were just gunned down in cold blood at a car wash. Lil Ronnie allegedly had some things going on. I'm not going to get into that now until the actual facts come out, but it's alleged that there was maybe some back and forth between him and some other people, possibly over a dice game or some other business things he had going on. He's associated with certain gangs, and now it's coming out that the police are finding more information on the 2 guys that gunned down Lil Ronnie and his daughter. So let's go ahead and get into the CBS News report, and then we're actually going to get into the official press conference from the police in that county. Here we go.
The Texas Rangers and Forest Hill Police are working on leads connected to the deadly shooting at a car wash. It took the lives of a local rapper and his 5-year-old daughter. Those close to the family are now speaking out, telling our Aaron Jones the gun violence must stop.
Yeah.
Kedrick Wilson first met Chucky Smith about 10 years ago.
Chucky was an up-and-coming artist, and I was an up-and-coming DJ at the time.
They bonded over their love of rap music. Wilson, known as Mr. Hit That, is a local DJ on K104.5 FM. He featured Smith, known as Lil Ronnie, on his show and became his booking manager.
He had great music on there. He had a few hits with other artists. He just recently went on tour with Soulja Boy, and like that was like a 40 city tour.
But Wilson says
Sad,
his
man.
friend's most important job was being a dad.
Got my little Valentine's with me today.
Like he didn't miss the dads and donuts. He didn't miss the when you go into the school and you get to read to the kindergartners. So it was a beautiful thing.
He says on Sunday, Smith celebrated his daughter's
sad.
5th birthday. The next day, they were killed in a shooting at Slappy's Car Wash in Forest Hill just before 11 a.m.
He was being a father in the midst of his tragic death, his tragic passing. He was being a father. So it's like, it's crazy.
Do you think he was targeted?
Most definitely.
Yeah.
Being a rapper is one of the most dangerous things in the world.
Forest Hill police say authorities...
It makes you wonder why people still do this. We see stories like this every month, at least, at a minimum. And if you really did some digging, you can find a story every week. I don't know why we keep doing this. I want to keep reporting on it so we can put the news out there. So hopefully somebody will see this and say, man, this life ain't worth it, man. People in the streets, people who are living this life will tell you the same thing. Trust me. Trust and believe.
Have identified 2 suspects, and one of the suspects has a capital murder warrant out for their arrest.
And growing up in the inner city, you see death a lot. It sucks to say it, but it's normal.
Wilson says the gun violence has to stop, something echoed by local community leaders and stakeholders
Crazy.
Tuesday afternoon.
He said it's
we must
normal.
work together to break the cycle
wild.
of self-hatred that continues to decimate lives and scar our community.
This is my cry out to say, hey, this is how we started. Spark the conversation and start the revolutionary change to it.
Wilson says hopefully through action, future tragedies can be prevented. In Forest Hill, Aaron Jones, CBS News, Texas.
And it starts by people who are in the community and people who are part of this garbage, absolutely trash culture by calling the other people out. When you know what happens, you see the guys running, you hear stories, man, go tell somebody so they can remove these people from the communities. And it was interesting. I don't really want to get into it too much, but how the grandmother was talking about Lil Ronnie and what he was doing. And that all might be well and good. But it's very evident, as we'll see moving forward, and what the news is reporting, that Lil Ronnie was involved in some things that he shouldn't have been involved in. And then now your daughter's life is affected by that too. Like, saying this stuff is normal, I absolutely do not accept that. And it's sad that it's not unusual. But to say it's normal, it shouldn't be the case.
A manhunt is underway for 2 capital murder suspects who killed a father and daughter in Forest Hill. Good evening, I'm Steve Eager. Police say 24-year-old Adonis Robinson and 21-year-old Jacoby Russell are responsible for shooting and killing a local rapper, Ronnie Sibley, and his 5-year-old daughter Monday at a car.
Again, allegedly. We got to wait and see how this plays out, because the police aren't perfect, as we've seen either. So we don't know that these are the 2 guys. Let's see how the evidence plays out and what happens there. All right.
Car wash. Fox 4's Dion Anglin has the latest from police. Dion.
Hey there, Steve. The police chief here in Forest Hill says the search is on for the 2 men responsible for this double murder. The chief also called them cowards.
Yeah.
2 capital
Whoever did
murder
this,
suspects
definitely.
are now identified and subjects of a manhunt.
They're scared. They're cowards. They're hiding.
They are 24-year-old Adonis Robinson and 21-year-old Jacoby Russell, both of Fort Worth.
Trash.
Investigators say the 2
Absolute
are
trash.
the gunmen captured by surveillance cameras at a car wash Monday during the ambush and double murder of music rap artist Ronnie Sibley and his 5-year-old daughter, Armani.
We have public enemy number 1, Adonis Robinson, who is also a registered sex offender. Public enemy number 2, Jacoby Russell, who's on the run.
Public records show Robinson was arrested in 2019 and later convicted for the violent assault of a woman who was walking along a trail near Marine Creek Reservoir.
Yeah, this dude should have been off the streets a long time ago. And again, it's always crazy to me to think about these people you probably pass by in your everyday life. Well, hopefully you're in a better area so you don't. But this is someone you could just easily walk by, and they've been convicted and acted out in these type of crimes. It's crazy.
Till
Man.
police will not speculate on a motive
Nasty.
in the double murders, nor will they say if or how the suspects and victims are connected, pointing out the Texas Rangers are the lead agency in the investigation.
Based on the music industry that he's a part of, it is all part of the investigation. And like I said earlier, we're on a fact-finding base. Everything that's being put out is being reviewed and analyzed by the Texas Rangers.
We know from surveillance images obtained by TMZ that Sibley was chased on foot through the car wash parking lot before he was shot. Police say it's unclear if Robinson and Russell could be hiding out in the Metroplex. However, they are the subject of a nationwide be on the lookout alert.
They are dangerous, they are armed, and we need you to please call 911 and let our police officers respond and take appropriate action.
Now, we asked the police chief if there was a vehicle description to go along with this search. The chief let us know that the vehicle used during the double murder is already recovered. He would not say where that vehicle was found.
The vehicle they think. I mean, it'll be hard to say, but if they got it, that's good. Probably an indication on why they were able to find these guys. There's still more that goes with this story, though. The guys that allegedly committed this, they already had, as you heard, prior charges, and it seems like they also have warrants out for their arrest, too.
Forest Hill police are pleading for help finding the two men they say gunned down a local rapper and his young daughter. The accused killers, identified publicly today, remain on the run. Here's NBC5's Maria Guerrero with those new developments.
The Forest Hill chief of police is urging the public to stop watching and sharing leaked surveillance video from Slappy's car wash of the shooting and instead share images and information of the two suspects he calls cowards on the run.
A memorial near its entrance, Slappy's car wash, remained closed following Monday morning's murder of a father and his little girl, identified by family as local rapper Ronnie Smith, known as Lil Ronnie, and daughter Romani, who just turned 5 the day before. Forest Hill police now publicly identifying their accused killers, hoping.
And again, I'm going to keep this up on the screen for a second. Y'all, these guys will have their day in court. They'll go through the process. But come on. Somebody knows where these dudes are. They're not just on their own. They're being protected. Someone's seen something, hasn't said anything. Can y'all get these guys off the streets, man? Come on.
To track them down.
Let the public know that there is a threat out there. They are dangerous. They are armed. And we need you to please call 911 and let our police officers respond and take appropriate action.
Police Chief David Hernandez and the city's mayor holding a press conference revealing the suspects are in their 20s and from Fort Worth. They're accused of approaching the victims near the vacuum stalls, opening fire, and driving away in a white Kia. The car, Hernandez will only say, has been found.
We have public enemy number 1, Adonis Robinson, who is also a registered sex offender. Public enemy number 2, Jacoby Russell, who's on the run. They're scared. They're cowards. They're hiding. We ask the public, please, you know where they're at? Let us know.
A motive, he says, is unknown, but confirms Smith's rap career and social media presence may hold clues. Police won't yet say whether the child was inside her father's car at the time of the shooting.
Can you at least say where the baby girl was located when she was shot?
She was in the car wash. Specifically where, we don't know.
This is the 4th and 5th homicide here in Forest Hill just this year. Hernandez says all of these cases are unrelated. However, police are working with the sheriff's office to increase patrols in the area. Maria Guerrero, NBC5.
And one other note here. Maria confirmed with Chief Hernandez about past records she found indicating one of the suspects, Adonis Robinson, is a registered sex offender.
And then last but not least, this is going to be on the justice system and how things are working. So I mentioned before that at least one of these suspects, or maybe both of them, had prior charges and things they were facing, and they were possibly involved in some other situations. Well, listen to this and check this out.
Forest Hill police say 2 suspects are on the run tonight after shooting a well-known rapper and his little girl.
I'm gonna put him on blast
Houston
too.
just got a look at new court documents that reveal the courts repeatedly gave both men second chances.
Forest Hill police Wednesday identified the 2 men they suspect killed rapper G-Money Lil Ronnie and his 5-year-old daughter as Jacoby Russell and Adonis Robinson.
They're scared, they're cowards, they're hiding.
Each has a criminal record and a history of taking advantage of the mercy judges have shown them.
Here we go.
2023, Russell was arrested for hitting a pregnant woman. According to court documents, he took a plea deal but broke his end of the agreement when he shot a man later that year.
I mean, how are these guys still on the street? He assaulted a pregnant woman and then he shot somebody. I don't know if this dude is connected to this or not, but can we get him off the street regardless? How is he still out here?
23,
Crazy.
Russell was arrested for hitting a pregnant woman. According to court documents, he took a plea deal but broke his end of the agreement when he shot a man later that year. Again, he got a deal, a misdemeanor conviction. The punishment, 1 year on the labor detail where inmates can work off their sentence instead of going to jail. All the 21-year-old had to do was show up once a week beginning this January. But court records suggest he didn't.
Insane.
And police were asked to find Russell and jail him just 3 weeks before this shooting.
It was a shocking event from North Texas.
In 2019, a grand jury accused Adonis Robinson of attacking a 55-year-old woman who was jogging around Marine Creek Lake. He tried to pull down her pants, police said, but a bystander scared him off.
Worst
he was
of the
arrested
worst.
3 months later and spent 2 years in jail. When he got out, he was supposed to register as a sex offender, but court documents show he didn't do it.
Of course
and went
not.
back to jail. Police also arrested both men on unrelated gun charges when they were teenagers. In Tarrant County.
So these are the guys who are being protected right now. These are guys who are being protected in these communities. And this culture absolutely has to change. We have to keep talking about this. We have to keep showing and letting people know why this isn't okay, which is sad we have to even say this. And 2, just showing them that they can do the right thing. These aren't stand-up people. These guys are poisons to not only this entire world, but poisons in the community. Got to get them out of there. It's a shame on the justice system for not trying these guys and pushing these guys even harder. We'll have to wait and see what happens. Y'all let me know what you think about this in the comments and in the chat. In this next video, we're actually going to cover the full press conference from the police department and see what they have to say, what insight they have to give on this. So sad, man. So sad. And Amy said it well. She said this guy is out and Yak Gotti is locked up. I don't understand how these guys were able to run around in the streets like this. Again, I haven't seen their cases, so I don't know. It could be that some of the things they're being charged for and some of the things that they allegedly did weren't processed well by the police, weren't investigated well. I'm not going to give the benefit of the doubt to the police. So we'll never know, but it's still such a sad situation, man. So sad. I'm going to read a couple super chats here. Shout out to Kara Hampton in the building with the 5 bombs. She said, hoping for a great day. Thank you for the support, Kara. You are going to have a great day. It's going to be an amazing day. We've got Valencia in here with the 5 bomb as well. Says, I don't care what he had going on. There's no reason to kill a child. It will never make sense. I mean, there's no, listen, unless he had shot somebody else that they knew or close to them, I get you don't get to choose your consequences, but I don't think Lil Ronnie deserved to die unless there's something I don't know. Unless there's something I don't know that he had going on. But unless he did something or harmed or someone else, I mean, I don't think, I'm not seeing how he deserved to die. So him and his daughter, sad, man. Sad. What's crazy is like-minded people hang out together, so their whole group of friends are most likely similar. Well, yeah, that's true in a sense, but you hear, I don't like doing this, but you hear how Lil Ronnie's grandmother was talking about him, and I need to just find the video. And she's saying, "Oh, Lil Ronnie, he was so sweet. He was so loving and caring." He never did anything to anybody. All right, grandma, I get that's your baby. That's your grandchild, but come on. So a lot of it, and a lot of the problem with the community and with the culture is what I'm saying, is that people just don't say anything. They're passive. They see stuff going on. They're just like, oh, he's just a troubled child. Oh, well, he's just having a rough time. He's been through some things. And then when stuff like this happens, they got all the t-shirts out talking about how great of a person it was. No, like, let's not play this game. There aren't things going on. We don't see things, and nothing's being said and nothing's being done. So yes, a lot of it is there aren't parents involved. There aren't fathers involved. Yes, a lot of it is all these dudes hang out together and they don't have supervision. They're just trying to make it. But also, a lot of the problem is people in these communities, they aren't saying anything. They'd rather sit there and watch somebody terrorize their own community, terrorize their own people in the name of, I don't know, not snitching. It's sad, man. It's sad. And that's true. You can't help everyone. Best case scenario, they turn themselves in or they get caught and they're actually willing to talk, because I think it's more than just those two involved. Yeah, there is. I don't want to talk about the rumors on possibly maybe what happened and why he got shot too much. We just know there's something there. Yeah, you've got anonymous tips. It's sad, man. I don't want to keep seeing this happen. And then you have an innocent child that loses their life as a result of this. It's just really sad to see. In the name of not snitching, but for real, yeah. He said he doesn't give the police the benefit of the doubt for the suspect's prior cases. I give the police the benefit of the doubt in this case. Yeah. I mean, these guys don't sound like upstanding citizens for sure. But I mean, they need to go in, talk to the police, and if the police can find out that it's not them, then lock them up anyway, because these guys are garbage. They shouldn't be walking around the street anyway. One of these guys assaults a pregnant woman. Well, not allegedly. He was found guilty, I assume. And then shoots somebody. I said it once, I'm going to say it again. Who wrote this stupid book on snitching? Because they were like the biggest snitch. That's probably true. I don't care what your issue with a person is. There are ways to handle your issues with somebody that doesn't involve putting children in the middle and killing people. That's all some people know, unfortunately. There's a video of Twisted Black and a rap song explaining the issue with the, yeah, I saw that. I don't care about that stuff. I don't care about that, man. Whatever beef they have, it shouldn't have resulted in this. They killed an innocent kid. I doubt they gave them a deal to snitch or talk. Exactly my point. They should get locked up and not on the streets. Amen to that. As far as them charging the suspects, yeah, just get those guys out of here in general. Supposedly over a dice game. Who knows if we'll ever know? I don't know. Who knows if we'll ever know? All right, let's go ahead and get into this next press conference. Thank y'all for liking the video. Thank you to everybody who's sent in the super chats too. Appreciate y'all supporting the show. And shout out to John G out there in Denver. I see you, man. Yeah. Oh, just like the takeoff situation. Y'all know I'm in Atlanta. That one could have been prevented, man. That's the thing. Just like the takeoff situation. Did they ever find the person that killed him? Yeah, they did. Which I'll have to look up and see when he's actually supposed to be on trial or have his day in court. But they found the guy that allegedly did it. I didn't follow that. Y'all are saying he got let off? I'll have to look into that and we'll cover it at some point. All right, so we've got we'll say Dallas. We've got the Dallas-Fort Worth area police are going to give a press conference on what's going on with this murder investigation of GS, or we'll call him G Money, Get Money, Lil Ronnie, and his 5-year-old daughter. They're going to talk about the suspects in this case, what they want from the community, and what they believed happened in this entire situation. So make sure, if y'all haven't yet, liked the video on your way in. Takes 2 seconds and really does help out the channel. Here we go.
Y'all ready? Everybody? The safety of the general public is our first concern. Forest Hill community, please be rest assured that that was the case with this incident. As civic leaders, it's our responsibility to make sure we have competent and knowledgeable staff in place. We are confident the employees acted quickly in this incident, as with all incidents. I want to thank all first responders, law enforcement agencies, and all staff for their hard work during this incident. With our partner law enforcement agencies, we will continue to work on this investigation until justice is served. Our heartfelt condolences go out to the family, to our community, because everyone was affected. Please continue to pray for us.
Good afternoon. David Hernandez, Chief of Police for Forest Hill. First off, I want to thank you for being here today and apologize for the reschedule from yesterday. But I want you to understand that our approach is to have fact findings, have facts for our community. There's a lot of information out there in social media, so we were receiving a lot of that information, so we had to make sure that we had the right information.
Respect.
It was a shocking event from North Texas. I won't speak on the details of the investigation, okay? But what I can share is we lost 2 victims, a father and a daughter who was 5 years old, to this event, to this tragedy. On March the 3rd at 10:40 in the morning, Forest Hill officers were dispatched to the 6500 block of Forest Hill Drive, reference the shooting. Our officers arrived and began life-saving measures, but both victims were pronounced dead at the scene. My first press release that I put out, I shared that we had identified a suspect vehicle. We had identified 2 suspects in the incident. And now we've identified the 2 cowards who took the lives of these innocent people.
Cowards.
We have public enemy number 1, Adonis Robinson, who is also a registered sex offender. Public enemy number 2, Jacoby Russell, who's on the run. They're scared, they're cowards, they're hiding. We ask the public, please, you know where they're at? Let us know. This investigation started on Monday. The Texas Rangers have been our primary investigators. Our Forest Hill CID unit has been assisting. But I wouldn't be here standing today if it wasn't for the Fort Worth Police Department. I want to thank them because their efforts, their officers, their assistance has been instrumental from the minute the call came in. From the minute the call came in, they started working. They have not stopped. We also had the Everett Police Department, who assisted in crime control, in crime scene control, and crowd control.
Good for them.
It wasn't enough. You were out there. We had to call Tarrant County Sheriff's Department. We had to call the Tri-County Auto Theft Task Force. We had to call Mansfield. We had to call Cannondale. It was a large scene, and we needed the help, and the resources came pouring in, and I want to thank them all. We're aware of the video that was leaked online. We urge the public to refrain from sharing it. I want to urge the public, just the way you saw that video, and you know where they're at, then please call 911. Let us know where they're at. I encourage anyone with information to please, if you want to stay anonymous, 713-2222-TIPS. Call Crime Stoppers. Let them know. Give them enough information so we know that our community is safe and our police officers are responding are safe.
Yep. Do the right thing.
I want to reaffirm to the community that we will hold criminals accountable. We're not going to allow them to come in here and think that they can get away with it. Para la comunidad hispana, el 3 de marzo hubo un evento que impactó el nordeste de Texas. Las víctimas fueron identificadas como un padre y su hija de 5 años. A las 10 de la mañana, la policía de Forest Hill fue despachada a un tiroteo en un lavadero de autos. Los oficiales llegaron y comenzaron medidas de salvamento. Las víctimas declaradas muertas allí en el lugar. Hemos identificado a los 2 cobardes que quitaron la vida de estas víctimas. El enemigo público número 1, Adonis Robinson, quien también es un delincuente sexual. El enemigo público número 2, Jacoby Russell, que está corriendo, se está escondiendo. Los 2 tienen órdenes de arresto por asesinato capital. Esta investigación empezó con ayuda de los Texas Rangers y con la división de Forest Hill. También el departamento de Fort Worth estuvieron ayudándonos y con ellos pudimos agarrar información para agarrar los 2 warrants for capital murder. Perdón. Sabemos que un video relacionado con este incidente ha filtrado. Les pedimos a la comunidad que no lo vean. No necesitamos que lo comparten y hacer el proceso más grande, por favor. Si saben en dónde están estos 2 cobardes que están aquí arriba de las televisiones, por favor hablen al 911. Si no quieren dar su nombre, pueden hablar a Crime Stoppers 713-222-TIPS para poder encontrar a estos 2 cobardes. At this time, I'll open up for the questions we might have.
Any idea how these suspects knew the victim?
We do not know motive at this time, and we have no information on that part.
Chief, can you describe what you guys see in the surveillance video? Who is shot? Where are they shot? Where was this baby girl when she was shot? And was she at all the intended target? Was she visible, basically, to the shooters?
So I specifically have not seen any of the videos, so I cannot comment on where and who it was involved as far as the incident. And then we also have to remember that the Texas Rangers are our primary investigators, and we won't be speaking on behalf of what they have as far as evidence and documentation.
Can you at least say where the baby girl was located when she was shot?
She was in the car wash, specifically where
she was probably in the front seat while he was vacuuming out.
That's part of the assistance that we received from the Tarrant County Sheriff's Department's crime scene. With their intelligence and their expertise and the scientific behind that, they will be able to place where our victims were based on shot placements and diagramming of the crime scene.
Are you saying that you're unable to say whether or not she was inside or outside of the vehicle?
Correct.
What would you say to the community of Forest Hill who are concerned about the number of murders this year compared to last year and scared of this gun violence?
I would like to take this time to say how extremely proud I am of our police officers in Forest Hill right now.
They're doing a good job.
What they've gone through the last 11 days is unheard of. what they've had to experience is unheard of. What they've done day in and day out, long hours, it's unheard of. Their commitment to the community has shown us what they're willing to do. To answer your question as well, the 3 incidents are isolated incidents, okay? We had the Mansfield incident where an employer and his employee were at odds. The following day, we had
what happened there?
Who was killed with a stray bullet, not related. And then on Monday, we had a victim who was targeted. It was an isolated incident. So to the community, I tell you, we are a safe community. The Sheriff Department has reached out to us, and we are working on a plan to increase patrol in the area. Sheriff Wayburn has called me numerous times, providing support, and we're going to continue to do that and answer the call as it comes in.
What can you tell us about these two? Where are they from, and their criminal histories? They're very young.
We know they're from Fort Worth, ma'am. Specifically where they're from, I am not sure.
What, if anything, did one of the victims appears to have been a local rapper? What, if anything, did his rapping career on Instagram? It looks like he had some sort of gambling lifestyle, and also his social media presence. What may this have had to do with the motive in this case? And are y'all also delving into his online footprint?
So, based on the music industry that he's a part of, it is all part of the investigation. And
they're going to
like
find
I
out
said
about the dice game.
We're on a fact-finding base. Everything that's being put out is being reviewed and analyzed by the Texas Rangers. So we don't have any specific motive at this time. With that, again, I'd like to thank you very much. I asked for you to please post these on media. Let the public know that there is a threat out there. Yep. They are dangerous, they are armed, and we need you to please call 911 and let our police officers respond and take appropriate action. Thank you very much.
Why is this capital murder? Can you have this explained? Because a child is involved, or why is this? Because it's in a commission of another crime, right?
Correct.
So, but what is the other crime?
Chief, do you believe they're still in this area, or could they be anywhere at this point?
We don't know.
He doesn't know. Come on, man.
Why the capital murder, Chief? You just feel like that's pretty
The
basic.
capital murder charge?
Yes, sir.
This is the death of 2 or more people.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
There you go, man. Shout out to the police department doing their job. They are not playing around with this one. Again, anybody who has any information on this, you heard the number, you see who they are. We're going to keep putting the information out there until they're found. Then we'll have to wait and see and find out what happens in this case. Very, very sad, man. We got to do a lot more in our communities to not only prevent this from happening, but to stop it, to stop the people who are participating in these type of crimes. And not only this, but you see things leading up to it. You see someone that's doing a lot of things they're not supposed to be doing. Come on, let's do the right thing. Anyway, let me know what y'all think about this in the comments and in the chat. Again, shout out to the gang. Appreciate all of y'all in here. We got over 600 of y'all in the building, and all of you have liked the video, man. Thank y'all. I don't ask for much. I really don't. And it means a lot that y'all took the time to like the video, so thank you. All right, it's time for our main story. Now, this isn't the final story that we have, but we've got to get into the main event. I know y'all have been waiting on this. Some of y'all aren't feeling it, think we're being too harsh. I don't care. I do not care. We're going to hold not only Tony Busby accountable, but this chick that's been over here lying too. So let me get this up here. We'll get the headline updated and we're ready to go. All right, y'all. So in recent news, we've talked about in past videos what's going on with Tony Busby, Jayz, Alex Spiro, and the Jane Doe. And we most recently reviewed a document where it was revealed that Jane Doe maybe admitted that she lied. Now, Jane Doe said, and Tony Busby said, that Jane Doe was being stalked by investigators and people from Jay-Z's camp. She said she was being intimidated and such. And now, come to find out, she may have run her mouth again, just like she did in the NBC interview, and put herself at a disadvantage here. So let's go ahead and get into it and see what TMZ is reporting here. They say Private investigator says Jane Doe admitted Jay-Z never assaulted her. As if she didn't need to do it again. Jay-Z is revealing how he found out the Jane Doe accuser allegedly lied about his involvement. And now attorney Tony Busby allegedly pushed her to sue anyway. Oh, man. Why, Tony? Why? A private investigator named Charlotte Henderson. We're going to get into the full affidavit from Charlotte Henderson later. But she filed an affidavit Wednesday stating she met with Jane Doe on February 21st, 2025 in the anonymous woman's home in Alabama. So this Jane Doe invited this woman into her home. This is wild, y'all. Keep listening. And during the meeting, she claimed that Busby pushed me to include Jay-Z in the lawsuit. According to the docs, Doe said she told Busby she'd been assaulted by Diddy in 2000 and wanted to sue him. But Busby brought Jay-Z into it. She added, he was the one that kind of pushed me towards going forward with him with Jay-Z. Henderson says Doe said she did tell Busby Jay-Z was at the party where the alleged assault occurred, but plainly stated he was not involved. This lady is, she just lies like crazy. And shout out to Amy for coining the phrase Tony Bugsby. That's crazy. Still, Busby filed a lawsuit alleging Jay-Z and Diddy assaulted her. Subsequently, various media outlets exposed multiple inaccuracies in the woman's story, including this one, including our guy Dennis Byron. And as we reported, she dismissed her lawsuit last month. Henderson's meeting with Doe came 1 week after that dismissal. She says Doe told her Busby had come to her shortly before filing that and said Jay-Z was threatening to kill her. What? And that's why she dropped it. Oh my gosh. Tony Busby said in his Instagram post that Jay-Z was going to Jane Doe and threatening her. Now we're going to hear from this private investigator, Charlotte Henderson, and she says that Tony Busby told Jane Doe that Jay-Z was going to kill her. Garbage, man. Absolute garbage. She says Doe told her Busby had come to her shortly before filing that and said Jay-Z was threatening to kill her, and that's why she dropped it. Henderson says Doe declared 4 times Jay-Z never assaulted her, and when asked if she'd signed an affidavit to that effect, asked, but how does this help me? It's a fair question. She says during the meeting, Doe seemed calm and at ease and never appeared scared or intimidated. Interestingly, Henderson says she was not hired by Jay or his attorneys to perform this investigation. She doesn't say who, if anyone, was paying her. One more thing, another private investigator, Ilan Pillinger, hopefully I said his name right, filed his own affidavit stating he uncovered Doe's history in a mental health facility. Shocker. And says she was there just 90 days before Busby sent a demand letter to Jay-Z on her behalf. As we reported, TMZ reported, Jay-Z is suing Busby for extortion. And just this week, he also filed a separate lawsuit against Busby and Doe for malicious prosecution. If y'all haven't seen that lawsuit, you haven't seen that document, I'll leave a link to the video where we covered it in the description. Busby tells TMZ each assertion is flat out false and made up. Jane Doe called referring counsel the Ava Law Group and alleged she was assaulted by Diddy and Jay-Z before her case was ever referred to our firm. That's indisputable. In fact, we have obtained the actual intake sheet from the Ava Law Group's intake personnel where Jane Doe signed up to be a client with them long before her case was ever sent to my firm. So he's trying again to pass the blame onto somebody else. In that form created by their firm, I take it shows who she was making the assertions against. Those investigations likely didn't know that the paper trail will demonstrably prove what they say to be false. None of the actual documentation supports that false story that Jay-Z's team is trying to sell to the public. Well, let's see what TMZ has to say on this.
Done with the accuser and her lawyer who sued him for sexual assault. He is now suing them.
This is the accuser, the Jane Doe accuser, who says that she was 13 years old back in 2000 when Jay-Z and Diddy allegedly sexually assaulted her after the VMA Awards. Now, you know, the big break, and this was a couple of weeks ago when she actually dropped this lawsuit. She filed to dismiss it with prejudice, which means she cannot refile it.
And by the way, this came after there were, I think the generous word is discrepancies in her story, where people she said were there were out of state. The place she says it happened couldn't have been. So there were a lot of kind of fundamental problems with her case.
Right. And Jay-Z had always denied this, and she dismissed it, and we thought, all right, that's the end of it. Not so. Not for Jay-Z. He has now filed a lawsuit against the Jane Doe accuser. And I think more importantly here, her attorney, Tony Busby.
That is the reason he's doing this. It's not her, it's him.
He and Tony Busby are locked in a death match here, a legal death match, and neither side is backing down. But Jay-Z says that in this lawsuit, he says that the accuser actually told Tony Busby that Jay-Z had never actually done anything to her, had never actually assaulted her.
But he filed anyway.
But Busby went ahead and filed it and continued with this narrative about this alleged sexual assault. So he's laying blame
on
almost
Busby.
fully on Busby.
Yeah, I mean, look, she's not going to have the money or the means, presumably. He is going after Busby because he says Busby's doing this to a lot of people. So this is a malicious prosecution lawsuit, which means that Jay-Z has to prove that he won this case on the merits.
She's not a victim of Jay-Z.
And for her dismissing with prejudice, I think he checks that box.
So Tony Busby says no. And this is an interesting wrinkle here because I agree with you. At first, when you look at it and you say she dismissed the lawsuit. So she's walking away saying, and there was no money exchanged. This was just her saying, I'm not suing this. I'm not filing this anymore. I'm not suing him.
Right.
So you would think that means she is disavowing her claims.
Well, she has.
Her attorney, Tony Busby, says that is not the case. His response to Jay-Z filing this lawsuit is interesting. This is what he said about the accuser. He said, Sean Carter's investigators have repeatedly harassed, threatened, and harangued this poor woman for weeks, trying to intimidate her and make her recant her story. She hasn't and won't. This is just another attempt to intimidate and bully this poor woman that we will deal with in due course. We won't be bullied or intimidated by frivolous cases.
Well, so here's the problem with that. He did dismiss this.
She did.
Well, Busby did
as her
for
attorney,
her.
right.
With prejudice. That means they can't ever file this case again.
So
it's over.
It is weird to hear him saying that she has not recanted and they're not backing down. They did back down when
they dismissed
when it was dismissed.
Right.
Exactly.
And the notion that they sent investigators.
Well, and the thing is, the reason they're saying that they backed down is because she was threatened. But now we're going to hear later from the private investigator that Tony Busby said she was being threatened. Why? We'll never know.
Is unsurprising to me.
If Jay-Z was planning to file this lawsuit.
Well, not just that, but even in defending himself, if he's going to go out and he has an investigator trying to talk to this woman, typically you go through lawyers, but he's not going to go through Busby in this case.
Right.
That's right. What's interesting, though, is to your point about malicious prosecution, it sounds like he might have been trying to bolster his case that she was filing false claims by having investigators go out and get her to sign an affidavit that says the claims were false. That would help him in that lawsuit. Nevertheless, she's filed an affidavit saying, I felt intimidated by these guys who were sent by Jay-Z, said they were there to get me to sign this affidavit. She stands by her claims, even though she dismissed the case with prejudice. So it's just getting very, very bizarre, but nobody's backing down at this point. Not the accuser, not Busby, and not Jay-Z. So it's gonna go to the next step.
There is a back down. It's dismissing with prejudice. That's back down.
That's right, but now she's filed an affidavit in the dismissed case. It's just getting very, very bizarre that this is still alive, even though she's dismissed the case with prejudice, meaning she won't refile it.
For what it's worth, Tony Busby this morning on social media posted something claiming that he has video of Jay-Z's investigators visiting 3 of his either former employees or former clients and that the investigators offered them $10,000 each to file lawsuits against Tony Busby. If he has that video, I don't know, but
he should release it.
Right. We have contacted him to see
because you
about
can't.
the video.
I mean, look, if it's true, it's essentially bribing somebody to tell a story, and that would be a huge problem on Jay-Z's side.
Right.
So if he's got this video,
if Busby has the video,
if Busby's got the video, and they're at war, release it.
Hi, I'm Jonah from Houston,
Oh,
Texas.
my. You
And
got a
I don't
video?
think she's lying. I think she's genuinely in fear of her life and her safety because Jay-Z is a very powerful, well-connected, wealthy man. And if she has any evidence whatsoever, no matter how small, it'll be a bad idea on Jay-Z's part to pursue charges against her.
Well, it'll be interesting.
Remember, Jay-Z has always denied that this story, all of this, is it's all completely made up. He did nothing wrong, he says. So.
But the other thing is that when our viewer just said he's a very powerful man, everybody knew that before she filed the lawsuit.
Correct.
So that would presumably be a calculation that the lawyer and the client talk about before they engage the legal system.
I think so.
It's not a surprise he's a powerful guy.
Yeah. I know. This makes sense.
Interesting. So let me know what y'all think about that. It seems like we might have some more news that comes out when it comes to Jane Doe, what actually happened. And we're going to get into shortly what the private investigator actually had to say about her meeting with Jane Doe. So let me know what y'all think about this in the comments and in the chat. Wow. This is crazy, man. I knew it was going to go down. I knew. Oh, God. Tony, what were you thinking, man? What were you thinking, Tony Busby? They think Jay-Z's that sloppy. How can anyone still believe this story when she lied and the evidence don't add up? Plus, she has mental health issues. How dumb are people? I don't think they're dumb. I just think they have hate. They have hate in their heart. Some people just want to see Jay-Z go down. And it's weird, in my opinion. And just because, as they say, he's guilty of something, doesn't mean he was guilty of this. And it was clear. Again, I'm not a private investigator. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not an attorney. But we read the initial document and right away we said, man, this story does not make sense. So I don't know. The private investigator should have recorded her. Maybe she did. He's a powerful man is an overused excuse. Yeah, and I mean, if she was telling the truth and everything's out there and it's open and it's in the news and she has this big, powerful attorney, Tony Busby, whatever. Yeah, we're going to keep talking about it. So she shifted from saying Diddy and Celebrity B played a role to focusing on Jay-Z. I think that was mainly the media and Tony Busby. So it wasn't necessarily on her. But the story she told, Jay-Z was the first one who, how can I say this, took a turn, I guess. And then Diddy went after that. And I mean, we're not going to say allegedly anymore. We know that didn't happen. Well, she lied about everything. Who knows if she really has autism or mental health issues? Well, apparently, according to the private investigator, there is documented, they have something documented showing that she was in a mental health institution of some sort. Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. Record that ish. How do we know she has mental health issues? We're going to wait and see. And we're going to get into it here in a second. Let me update this. Let me update this headline. We're going to keep it going because we've got more information. And this is courtesy of Megan Cuniff over on X. Shout out to Megan. What does she say? So we've got some more news on Jane Doe and the fact that she lied on Jay-Z, not once, not twice, but multiple times. Then she lied about the claim. She lied about what happened with Jay-Z allegedly threatening her. She lied about what Tony Busby said and what he was telling her. It's just an entire mess. So again, shout out to Megan Kuniv. She says Jane Doe stated Busby brought Jay-Z into it, and he was the one that kind of pushed me towards going forward with him, with Jay-Z. Jay-Z's lawyers want to depose the woman who accused him of assault, and they filed a declaration for an investigator who spoke with her. So let's get into it and see what Charlotte Henderson has to say here. Charlotte Henderson declare as follows, or it says, I, Charlotte Henderson, declare as follows. I make this declaration in support of plaintiff's ex parte application in connection with the defendant's special motion to strike. Unless otherwise noted, I have personal knowledge of the facts stated herein, and if called upon to testify, I could and would competently testify thereto. I am a licensed private investigator. I was not hired by the plaintiff, Jay-Z, or the plaintiff's attorneys, Alex Spiro, to perform the investigation I describe in this declaration. On Friday, February 21st, 2025, along with investigator James Butler, I met with the plaintiff, Jane Doe. She's going to be referred to moving forward as Mrs. Doe, the person on whose behalf defendants filed the lawsuit captioned as Jane Doe versus Sean Combs. Case number, and then they have the case number there in the Southern District of New York on October 20th, 2024. It's going to be referred to as the lawsuit moving forward. To protect Ms. Doe's privacy and identity. Aren't we past that point? I don't want to hear she suffered enough. I don't want to hear, oh, poor Jane Doe. She thought something's wrong. She has a mental illness. No, we got it. No. Stop protecting this lady. These type of people do not need to be protected. They can get help, sure. But you don't go this far. You don't do this. You don't make a spectacle. You don't go on NBC and we're going to protect you. No, no, no. To protect Ms. Doe's privacy and identity, I am not disclosing her name or any other facts that enabled me to conclude that the woman I met was in fact Mrs. Doe. Well, we want to know. I got to reach out to Charlotte and see if she wants to come on the show. We got to get an interview or something, Charlotte. Come on. We met with Miss Doe on the front porch of her home in Alabama. Miss Doe confirmed that she was in fact the Jane Doe plaintiff in the lawsuit. Miss Doe, Mr. Butler, and I were the only people present. Throughout our discussion, Ms. Doe appeared calm and at ease. She maintained a natural demeanor and engaged in conversation freely. Ms. Doe's body language, including her nodding, relaxed posture, and steady tone of voice, reinforced that she did not feel scared or intimidated during our interaction. At no point during our interaction did Ms. Doe request to be left alone. During our conversation, Ms. Doe told me, among other things, the following facts. She saw an advertisement on Facebook for the AVA law group law firm concerning Sean Combs. The AVA law group referred her to the defendant, Tony Busby, and his law firm. Mrs. Doe met with Busby for the first time in Houston, Texas. He paid to fly her there. Their meeting to discuss the case took place when Mrs. Doe flew out for an interview that Busby had arranged for Mrs. Doe to give to NBC News in Mr. Busby's office. Jane Doe stated to me that Sean Carter, aka Jay-Z, did not assault her. What? All right, so all of you people who are saying stop defending celebrities, someone who spoke to, this is not hearsay. She spoke to Jane Doe, and Jane Doe said, yeah, I lied. He didn't assault me. What else did she say? Jane Doe stated to me that she originally told Mr. Busby that she had been assaulted by Diddy, and a world-renowned female celebrity who was also present for the assault. I don't believe her. And that Tony Busby suggested that she claimed that Jay-Z was another assaulter. I believe it. I believe it 1000%. Jane Doe stated Busby brought Jay-Z into it. Oh gosh, she's backtracking like crazy now. And he was the one that kind of pushed me towards going forward with him with Jay-Z. Jane Doe said that Mr. Busby asked her if Jay-Z had been at the party. Miss Doe told Mr. Busby that Jay-Z was at the party, but she told me that Jay-Z did not take part in any assault of Mrs. Doe. Crazy. Jane Doe confirmed the following regarding Mr. Carter during our interview. Jay-Z had nothing to do with this, correct? Right? Other than he was at the party that you were at. So, I mean, he did not assault you, no? He was just there, but he didn't have anything to do with any of the acts towards you. And she said, yeah. Jane Doe said to me that the lawyers at Mr. Busby's law firm told her if she pursued Jay-Z, she would get a payout. Miss Doe said to me that shortly before Mr. Busby dismissed the lawsuit against Mr. Carter, Mr. Busby told Mrs. Doe that Mr. Carter was threatening to kill her. Sheesh. In response to her lawsuit and could come after her. Tony Busby, man, what is wrong with you? This guy is a piece of work. Upon hearing that, Miss Doe agreed to drop her case. Miss Doe stated 4 times, excuse me. Miss Doe stated 4 times that Mr. Carter did not assault her. After Miss Doe had voluntarily and consistently affirmed this, we inquired whether she would be open to signing an affidavit reflecting what she had told us. She responded by saying, "But how does that help me? I declare under penalty of perjury, under the laws of the state of California, that the foregoing is true and correct, executed on this day, the 4th of March, 2025, by Charlotte Henderson." Oh, we have more. What else does Megan say? They also want to take Tony Busby's deposition. Uh-oh. Tony Busby doing all this posting on Instagram, all this talking on Twitter, all these interviews on NBC. Now let's get you on the record, Tony. This is the defamation and extortion lawsuit in LA. Shout out to Megan for that. The judge hasn't finalized his ruling dismissing the extortion claim, and Jay-Z's lawyers are hoping new info will change the judge's mind. This is insane. Notice of applications to the court, all parties and their counsel of record. Plaintiff hereby applies to this court ex parte pursuant to the court's February 25th, 2025 instructions in Rule 3-1200 of the California Rules of Court for the relief set forth below. For further proceedings of this application, the plaintiff will appear in the department of this court located here. Okay, we don't care about that. Plaintiff requests the following relief. 1, to supplement the record in opposition to the defendant's special motion to strike with the currently filed declarations of investigators Charlotte Henderson, James R. Butler, and we heard about Ian earlier, Ian Pillinger. Hopefully I said his name right. The investigator declarations they'll be referred to moving forward. That if the court, number 2, that if the court has any doubts about the admissibility of any evidence in the investigator declarations regarding statements by Jane Doe, the person on whose behalf defendants filed the complaint against Mr. Carter in the case captioned Jane Doe versus Sean Combs in the Southern District of New York, the court permit limited discovery pursuant to code. And then they've got the code there so that plaintiff can serve a deposition subpoena and subpoena, oh man, as set forth in the proposed order granting the plaintiff's ex parte application on Jane Doe. So basically, if the court has an issue with anything that Charlotte said in her previous statement, then we can ask Tony Busby what happened. We can put him on the record. And then at some point, again, I mentioned this yesterday when we were talking about Tony Busby. I guarantee that Jane Doe is going to be called and she's going to throw that man right up under the bus, just like she did when she allegedly talked to Charlotte Henderson. Count your days, Tony. serve a deposition subpoena and subpoena. Okay, I already read that part, so we're good. Examine Jane Doe at such deposition for not more than 2 hours. So Jane Doe's going to show up, including to confirm under oath that she is the person who signed the anonymous declaration submitted to the court on March 3rd, 2024. So basically, she's going to show up to court and she's going to say, the judge is going to say, okay, well, you talked to Charlotte Henderson. Yes, I talked to Charlotte Henderson. Right. Will you put a signature here? And will you say that this was you that she talked to and you said all this? She's going to look it over. Yep, that was me. Okay, have a nice day. Tony, come on in. Examine Jane Doe at such deposition for not more than 2 hours, including to confirm under oath that she is the person who signed the anonymous declaration submitted to the court on March 3rd, 2024. Serve a deposition subpoena and subpoena on Tony Busby. So Tony's going to be there either way. Examine Tony Busby at such deposition for not more than 2 hours, including regarding his communication with Jane Doe. The interesting thing about that is I don't know how attorney-client privilege would work in that instance. So again, to our amazing attorneys here in the community, y'all let me know in the comments and in the chat, how would this work by Tony having a conversation about his conversations with his then client? Let me know. The investigator declarations provide evidence to the following facts. 1, Mr. Carter did not assault Jane Doe. We knew that. Jane Doe. 2, Jane Doe met defendant Tony Busby to discuss the case for the first time on December 11th, 2024 in Houston, Texas, right before she went and did the interview with NBC. 3, during that meeting, Jane Doe told Tony Busby that she had been simultaneously assaulted in 2000 by Diddy while a well-known female celebrity stood and watched. Tony Busby suggested that Jane Doe claim that Jay-Z also assaulted her and pushed her to make that claim. Number 4, lawyers at the defendant Tony Busby's law firm told Jane Doe that if she pursued Jay-Z, she would receive a cash payout from Jay-Z. Oh, man. Number 5. Is this number 5 or number 6? I think it's number 5. If Busby or his colleagues had run a basic background check or even a Google search on Jane Doe, and we've seen this wording before in all of Jay-Z's motions that he's filed, and even in the lawsuit he filed as well. If Mr. Busby or his colleagues had run a basic background check or even a Google search on Jane Doe before Tony Busby publicly accused Jay-Z of assaulting her based on the story from Jane Doe that started out as her having been assaulted by Diddy while a female celebrity watched, they would have discovered that Jane Doe has a significant mental health history. Y'all were asking about that in the comments, with which includes a myriad of disorders that bears on whether her accusations or what anyone may or may not have done to her 24 years ago can be believed. B, made other accusations of assault that were in large part later determined to be unsubstantiated. We noted before she already had several lawsuits that she had filed against other people and they were dismissed. A criminal record that includes assault of a law enforcement officer and other serious offenses. This lady's a POS. She's not a victim, y'all. Maybe a victim of mental health. I will give you that, but this lady needs help and she needs to be held accountable. Right before, and then lastly, right before Tony Busby dismissed Jane Doe's lawsuit against Jay-Z in February of 2025, Mr. Busby and his colleagues told Jane Doe that she should drop the lawsuit because Jay-Z had threatened to delete her. This is, of course, Tony Busby's complete fabrication. As explained below, admissions of these supplementary evidence and, if needed, the requested discovery is warranted because a reasonable fact finder could conclude that it shows that Tony Busby's November 5th, 2024 Jane Doe demand letter to Mr. Carter constitutes extortion as a matter of law, which is not protected under 525.16. Interesting point there. it would be extortion if Tony Busby said, yeah, I know Jay-Z didn't do anything, but let's go ahead and mention him. And then for him to be completely removed from even having to have a conversation, he's going to write you a nice check. Are y'all are still going to defend this guy, Tony Busby? I see so many people trying to defend this man. Wow. This is not going to end well for him. The evidence also shows that defendants cannot assert the California Civil Code section 47B. Okay, we're not attorneys. We're good on that part. As reasonable fact finder could rely on the evidence to conclude that because it was Tony Busby who suggested that Jane Doe, for the first time on December 11th, that Jane Doe claimed that Jay-Z had assaulted her. See? Jane Doe could not have possessed an intention 1 month earlier when Tony Busby sent the demand letter to file litigation against Jay-Z. Nor could Tony Busby have had the basis to believe that. In making demands of Mr. Carter, he was acting on Ms. Doe's behalf. The evidence also further supports the plaintiff's already sufficient showing of prima facie elements of his claims against defendants, particularly as to the defamation elements of falsity, defamation per se, and constitutional malice, including for lack of a sufficient investigation and failure to investigate contrary facts, and as to the intention, infliction of emotional distress element of extreme and outrageous conduct. This application is based on the accompanying memorandum of points and authorities, the declarations of Charlotte Henderson, we read, James R. Butler and Ian Pillinger, Robert M. Schwartz, and Mary, I think that's how you pronounce it, Mary Henderson, the pleadings and papers filed in this action and such further arguments and matters as may be offered in the court if the court hears oral arguments. As set forth in the declaration of Mary Henderson, and we went through that at one point as well, plaintiff and defendants met and conferred on February 28, 2025 to work out the briefing schedule for this application. See Mary Henderson, Declaration 3 and 4. The parties were unable to. The defendants said that they will oppose this application. The plaintiff will continue to attempt to work out a briefing schedule with the defendants and will await instructions for the court regarding a hearing of the application as required by California Rule of Court 3-1202. The name, address, and telephone number of the attorneys representing defendants are such and such. Wow, wow, wow. Tony Busby is out of here. We talked about it. Jay-Z is not gonna back down after all the embarrassment, after the conversation he had to have with his family as a result of this, all the fighting, all the back and forth. I mean, from a basic level, the legal expenses. Yeah, I mean, he's ridiculously rich, but who wants to take the time to deal with this? This is going to be bad for Tony Busby. I don't think there's any way he can get out of this. I think Jay-Z wants this man buried. He wants him to feel every weight of these bad decisions he made throughout this entire claim. Let me know what y'all think about this in the comments and in the chat. Wow. Shout out to Tony Busby, man. Tony Busby. Oh, man. How can people not believe her then, and now they believe her today? Dropping this on the day of his daughter's movie premiere. Sue the pants off Tony. Yeah, that was disgusting. Well, there is a truth there. It's just what the truth is. So to the comment, how can people not believe her then and now they believe her today? It's just finding the truth. And that is a great point. If she lied back then, who's to say she's not lying now? Well, that's why you have to have other research. You have to have other investigations. You have to find out other stories and figure out what actually happened, what went down. This is going to be interesting. And I don't know what's going to happen. What's going to happen to this chick? Jay-Z knew dude was a fraud. I think we all knew. Don't let that Ava Law group off the hook either. They referred her case to his law firm and we're supposed to vet her too. They're in cahoots with this BS. Well, that's true. That is a great point. The problem is that's a battle for Diddy to fight. That's not something. So if Diddy wants to go after the Ava Law Group, he can. But the only thing he would be going after them for is not doing a good job investigating. So they did their investigation. They had her fill out a form and then they said, hey, Tony, you want this? Tony's like, oh, yeah, let me throw Jay-Z's name in there, too. So the Ava Law Group, technically, they didn't do anything wrong, in my opinion. Again, I'm not an attorney, y'all. I'm just looking at things from a common sense perspective. The only thing they did wrong was maybe just not kicking this lady out the door by the seat of her pants, right? Tony Busby was the one who took her on as a client. Tony Busby was the one that filed the lawsuit. Tony Busby was the one that amended the lawsuit. Tony Busby was the one that sent the demand letter. Tony Busby was the one that set up the interview. Tony Busby was the one that met with her in Houston. Tony Busby, Tony Busby, Tony Busby. So no, Ava Law Group, they had nothing to do with this. This is all Tony Busby. He's trying to bring them up and say, oh, well, they referred her and she was a mess. Due diligence, Tony Busby. I'm sure you heard that word 11 times throughout your career. I don't want to hear about the Ava Law Group. And her lying on men like this makes it so much harder for real victims when they do come forward. Absolutely. She needs to go to freaking jail. I disagree. I said absolutely, but I disagree with that, Tatum. And I talked about it the other day. I think as a victim, this should embolden you and show if you lie and if you don't have your story straight, then you're going to have issues. If you have the truth, or even if you just have a believable, solid story, you'll be fine. I think victims should be emboldened by this. Be like, man, I'm not trying to do what Jane Doe's doing. Let me go ahead and tell my story because this lady was on some BS. They shouldn't be afraid to speak out after this. If anything, they should be able to see, okay, well, I'm going to make sure I don't do that. And hopefully there will be more objective people like us here in the community that look at things on a case-by-case basis. We don't just say, oh, okay, well, every woman that comes forward and said they were assaulted at a party after they had gotten drunk, we're not going to believe them. No, you have to take it on case by case. And I think even in the way the system is set up, and we've seen that prime example of that in the case of Jane Doe and Tony Busby, the way the system is set up, it is set up to benefit alleged victims. You really, especially with these civil suits, you really don't get the benefit of the doubt when it comes to these type of things. You really have to show, what is it, beyond the preponderance of doubt? I don't remember what the phrase is. Again, I'm not an attorney, but you really have to fight hard to show that the accusations someone is bringing against you in the civil suit are not true. So victims, hey, real victims out there, y'all don't be afraid of this. I think you should be emboldened more than anything. If you did go through a situation or you went through something where someone did something to you, tell your story, find someone to represent you, and get what justice that you can. Well, if she needs to go to jail, Busby should too. Lock them all up. Lock all their butts up. So y'all got me about that. She does not need to spend some time in jail. The document said she has done this multiple times and the case was dismissed. They need to put her somewhere because I don't want her around me. Preponderance of evidence. Thank you, Michelle. I appreciate that. This community is amazing, man. Shout out to Michelle. The preponderance of evidence. That's what it was. That's what I was looking for. I'm gonna get there one day, Michelle. We're learning. I'm starting to get the terminology in there. I appreciate y'all. In general, Busby has been caught doing this before. That's true. Him and Jane Doe. Lawyers and other powerful individuals get desperate too. Yeah, and shout out to my guy, the happily angry lawyer. He said this multiple times as we were covering this. And when we initially covered this claim, he said, man, I hope more people start to fight like this. I really do hope more people fight. I hope more people push when someone's coming out and lying about things like this. Easier said than done for sure, because you've got legal fees. And if a lawyer's not really willing just to represent you and see how it plays out, it's going to be tough, man. Tough for the average person. She made Jay-Z and his family look bad. And then all this stuff comes out about Beyonce's a witch, Blue Ivy, not her daughter. Oh, Lord. Yeah, I saw that too. She doesn't need to be in public lying on folks. Yeah, I don't want to be next to her in the grocery store. She's going to be in front of me at the grocery store. She's going to put her card in the card machine, walk out of the groceries. She's going to look at me like this. And she's going to say, oh, I think that guy stole my card number. He was looking at my card. He saw the front and the back of the card. I think it was him. He looked at me. I didn't like it. What about all of those people that don't have Jay-Z's lawyer power that have been falsely accused? Exactly. Yep. I was just talking about that. It's scary, man. And it really could happen to anybody. Again, you could just be at the wrong place at the wrong time, next to the wrong person, like I said. Yeah, congrats to Hove. Congrats to Jay-Z. Keep fighting, man. I want to see this play all the way out. And Tony Busby, especially, that man. Time's up, Tony. Let's go ahead and get into this next story. Oh, man, that's a graphic thing to put up there first. Good Lord. I should have thought this one through. YouTube might not like this. Jeez. We're going to finally get into, y'all did it. The peer pressure worked, okay? And I love when y'all let me know in the community what you want to cover, because this is a very interesting case. It's official. We are going to cover and get into the Karen Reed trial. Now, some hearings going on right now. The actual court date isn't until April, or the actual start of the retrial isn't until April. Before we actually get into what's going on right now with Karen Reed, I want to give you guys an update, and I want to tell you a little bit of background on what happened with Karen Reed, why she's in this situation in the first place, and what's going on right now. So I took a couple notes. I'm going to read these to y'all real quick, and then we'll get into the updates from NBC News here in Boston in a second. So Karen Reed, as we know, she's in Massachusetts, out there in Boston, and her boyfriend, John O'Keefe, was a Boston police officer, right? So the prosecutors allege that after a night out, she accidentally hit O'Keefe, her boyfriend, with her car while dropping him off at a friend's house during a snowstorm, and left the scene, leading to his death from his injuries and hypothermia. In her first trial, here's what happened. It began on April 20th or April 2024. So April of last year, the prosecution presented evidence suggesting that Reed's vehicle struck O'Keefe, her boyfriend, pointing to the damage on her car and his injuries. However, Reed's defense argued that she was innocent, claiming that O'Keefe was injured inside the house during a fight, and that there was a cover-up by the police officers to protect the real perpetrators. Uh-oh. And this is why you see a lot of people saying free Karen Reed. Again, it seems to be the case of wrong place, wrong time. And it's interesting because the Boston Police Department does not have the best reputation. So we're going to get into it. After weeks of testimony, the jury was unable to reach a unanimous decision, resulting in a mistrial in July. This means they couldn't agree whether Karen Reed was guilty or not guilty. On March 2025, a retrial is rescheduled to begin in April. As we know, both the prosecution and the defense are preparing to present their cases again. Recently, the state's highest court ruled that Reed can be retrialed on all previous charges, rejecting the claims that doing so would violate protections against double jeopardy, which prevents someone from being tried twice for the same crime. The upcoming trial will revisit the evidence and the arguments to determine Reed's involvement in O'Keefe's death. So with that being said, let's go ahead and see what NBC News is saying and what really went down in this case. Y'all let me know what you think about this. Like the video on your way in.
And we know this case has caught the attention of people from New England and beyond. And tonight we are hearing from a juror from Reed's first trial.
And we should note that this is the first on-camera TV interview that any member of the jury has done. And he spoke with our Eli Rosenberg in a story that you will only see again right here on NBC 10 Boston.
Kind of overwhelming at first, and then it got very interesting, and then at the end, kind of disappointing.
You had this front row seat. What do people not understand?
It's difficult for some of the public to understand why we arrived somehow to our conclusion, but it was totally based on the evidence that was provided to us and that we could actually consider.
At the time, there were a couple things during the trial that were a huge deal as it happened on the outside, and I'm wondering, did it resonate with you? One being the testimony of Michael Proctor, the lead investigator, and those texts.
It was very surprising. It was very unprofessional, and at that point, most likely we would discredit or not consider his testimony as strong.
Another big thing was this Google search. How's long to die in the cold?
We didn't believe that there was enough evidence or expertise to kind of indicate that it was reliable. It did not appear, at least to myself, that she intended to commit murder. The other piece, which was the leaving a scene of an accident, also did not appear very clear, and therefore everybody voted for those two charges as not guilty. That second charge, that was the one that was very debated in terms of whether ultimately she did it became questionable. And now that is where there was reasonable doubt in some minds. Unfortunately, we didn't get clarification early on that we could look at each charge individually and independently.
So that's interesting. I guess this is where the issue of double jeopardy plays in, because if they found her not guilty on two of the other charges, then maybe the defense could have a case for double jeopardy there. Very interesting.
That we could look at each charge individually and independently of each other. If we had done that, then I don't know where we would be or if we would be talking today.
Do you think there was going to ever be resolution on that second charge?
I honestly believe that there would not have been any resolution because some people had very good arguments, and at that point it was just trying to convince people and change people's beliefs, which would not be possible.
And this was interesting as well. After spending so much time together, the 9-week trial, the deliberations, eating lunch together every single day, this jury still talks all these months later. They have a group chat, they share texts, and Ronald says he will be watching some of Karen Reed's second trial. He wishes those jurors all the luck. In Boston, Eli Rosenberg, NBC 10 Boston.
All right, so let's get into the double jeopardy issue and see what's going on there.
Doug, at this hour, Karen Reed is now at her second courthouse of the day. After starting the morning here at federal court for an appeals hearing, she's now back at Norfolk Superior Court in Dedham for pretrial motions. Reed and her defense attorneys are seen here arriving here at federal court this morning. During a hearing that lasted a little over an hour and a half, Chief Judge Dennis Saylor heard arguments about whether the trial judge, Beverly Cannoni, properly declared a mistrial back on July 1st and whether she should have polled the jury. Karen Reed's attorneys argue, based on contact with jurors after the trial, that the jury did in fact reach a unanimous verdict that Reed is not guilty of second-degree murder for the death of her boyfriend, John O'Keefe, and not guilty of leaving the scene of an accident with death resulting. Therefore, they argue, retrying her would violate her constitutional protection against double jeopardy.
That makes sense.
We had a lengthy argument in front of the Chief Judge of the United States District Court on issues of what we contend to be profound constitutional significance, which is whether or not the Norfolk DA could re-prosecute Ms. Reed when there's such strong and compelling evidence that the prior jury acquitted her.
The attorney representing the Norfolk County DA's office points out that the jury did not fill out the verdict slips, nor did the jury indicate a partial verdict in any notes to Judge Cannoni. telling the judge in court here at federal court this morning there were no acquittals. And if the Commonwealth were to argue they found her guilty, there was no question Ms. Reed would strenuously object. Reed already lost this fight at the SJC. There is a great deal of urgency to these proceedings because bear in mind that whatever Judge Saylor decides, he admitted from the bench today, will likely be appealed or could very well be appealed. And that could have a bearing on the trial, the upcoming retrial of Karen Reed, which as of now is scheduled to begin on April 1st. Reporting live at federal court in the Seaport, Todd Kiskevich, WCVB News Center 5.
Yeah, that's interesting. I want to know what y'all think about that moving forward. Do you think if they appeal that this could possibly happen? Because I could see how they're making a case for the double jeopardy, especially with, as we heard from a juror, they're saying, yeah, it would have been not guilty on 2 of those charges. It's just that last one we weren't too sure about. Moving forward into the next jury, it'll be interesting to see what happens here. So here we go.
Welcome to Canton Confidential. I'm Glenn Jones. Karen Reed's second murder trial is less than a month away, and maybe that explains why her defense team was so busy today. We have team coverage for you tonight, 2 hearings to cover, one in Boston, the other in Dedham. We'll also have more from a member of the Reed jury in trial number 1. First, we go to Norfolk Superior Court. That's where Karen Reed's defense attorneys are seeking to have the case dismissed entirely. They want the case thrown out in part because of something they call pervasive prejudice. John Maroney begins our team coverage with more on the defense motion today.
This case should be dismissed because of the conduct of the Commonwealth, including Michael Proctor holding onto his videos, hiding those videos.
Defense attorney Alan Jackson arguing the dismissal of charges against Karen Reed, who's pleaded not guilty to hitting and killing her boyfriend John O'Keefe with her SUV.
The defense lodges the idea of bad faith, that there was some type of advantage and that this video was withheld from them on purpose. And again, that is a baseless claim.
Video of Reed's vehicle in the Canton Police Sally Port is at the center of efforts to have the case thrown out. In the first trial, 42 minutes of the video were found to be missing and some of it inverted. The defense says newly surfaced.
Oh my. Oh, this is nasty. Boston PD, what are y'all doing, man? Oh, God.
The center of efforts to have the case thrown out.
Oh,
in the first trial, 42 minutes of the video were found to be missing and some of it inverted. The defense says newly surfaced video shows ATF agent Brian Higgins outside the Canton Police headquarters the night John O'Keefe died. Reed's attorneys say the video exonerates their client.
There is no evidence that any videotape was ever tampered with. They say it, but there's none.
The defense says the video was manipulated and deliberately withheld to further the conspiracy to frame Reed, pointing the finger at embattled State Trooper Michael Proctor. He was a lead investigator, and the defense says he planted taillight pieces from the SUV on the snowy front yard where John O'Keefe's body was found.
Not a single piece of taillight was ever recovered at 34 Fairview until after that vehicle was in the possession of Michael Proctor and the Massachusetts State Police.
Judge Cannoni will take this all under consideration. No word on when she might make a decision, but of course the trial is set to start April 1st. In Dedham, John Maroney, NBC 10 Boss.
Interesting.
Before that hearing today in Dedham, Karen Reed and her lawyers were in federal court trying to get 2 of the 3 charges against her thrown out. Our Mary Marcos continues our team coverage now.
Karen Reed's defense team is essentially asking the federal court to take a look at what happened in state court, something that they have never seen done before. Karen Reed started her day here at the Moakley Federal Courthouse, where her attorney, Martin Weinberg, tried to persuade a federal judge to bring in jurors from the first trial for a private questioning called a voir dire. Weinberg urged the judge to confirm what at least 4 jurors told the defense, that they unanimously agreed to acquit Reed on second-degree murder and leaving the scene. He said Judge Beverly Cannoni made a mistake by declaring a mistrial without exploring other options. Because of that, charging Reed again would violate her Fifth Amendment rights. Prosecutor Caleb Schillinger countered that Cannoni did her due diligence and said questioning jurors would be coercive. Reed's team staying positive despite the fact that the state Supreme Court upheld Cannoni's decision on the same argument last month.
I think Judge Saylor is an independent, experienced, wise judge, and he's going to make the rulings that he considers to be fair.
Now, the judge said he would issue an opinion as soon as possible so that each side has an opportunity to appeal before the trial begins next month. Reporting in the Seaport, Mary Marcos, NBC 10 Boston.
Wow.
We're joined by our legal expert now, Michael Coyne. And Michael, I feel like we've got a mile to run in about 3 minutes, so we better get right to it. Let's start in federal court. We heard from Mary's reporting that they're making a Fifth Amendment argument. You say that's going to be an uphill battle for them. Why?
It is. Most habeas petitions are denied. I think this will fall into that same group. You have a pending state court action that you're asking the federal government to get involved in. It would be highly unusual for the federal court to step in at this point with we're only a month to trial.
All right, so let's take what you're saying at face value. They're unsuccessful in federal court in this process, but there's still a way that this could help them later. How?
Well, because let's assume that this case goes to trial in April as expected. She is found not guilty. The whole double jeopardy issue, it goes away completely. But if she's convicted and sentenced to jail, which she will be if she's convicted on the more serious charges, then her double jeopardy claim is still viable, and maybe the federal government will take a look at it because it is a U.S. constitutional right that she's challenging. So despite what our Supreme Court has already reviewed, examined, and said that the judgment was fine from the first trial, she would still have some avenue of appeal over in the federal court to try and see if her double jeopardy claims would be viable.
And I'd be interested to see if maybe this interview with the jurors plays any weight into that, or if they can use that in a sense.
Okay, so one thing is objectively true. Reed's defense lawyers are doing everything that they can in the pretrial to try to avoid their client going on trial again. In Superior Court, they're trying to convince Judge Beverly Cannoni to throw out the whole thing. How'd they do?
I thought they did a good job today. I thought both sides did a really good job. I think the arguments were very heated, they were intense, and they were very, very solid. At the end of the day, I don't see her dismissing this case at this point. Yes, the whole Sallyport video is a mess. It's inexcusable why we're still seeing pieces of video released on a virtually daily basis. However, has it affected them to the point where it is governmental misconduct? I don't think so. I think it's sloppy, and I think that's what the court is likely to find in moving this case forward to trial.
So as we as laymen watch what's going on, there seems to be so much to get sorted out before they start the second trial. Do you think we're in risk of seeing a delay for that April 1st start date? And if there is a delay, I suppose it can't be indefinite because there's also a deadline involved.
Yeah, there's a risk. But I actually think the court is inclined to keep this on track. Even if we start the first week of April, it's going to take a couple of weeks to impanel a jury. Let's assume this is a streamlined case for 6 weeks, 7 weeks or so. We're now still going to be bumping up against the end of June at some point. So I think the court is likely to try and keep it on track, to keep it moving. And some of these issues will have to be resolved as the trial moves forward. Not unusual with respect to the admissibility of evidence. These are motions that were brought in advance. Some of it can be dealt with as the case progresses.
That's really a key point, solving some of these motions after the start of the second trial so they can happen simultaneously.
Yes.
All right, Michael Coyne, thank you as always. With Karen Reed's second.
Very interesting. So we're going to get into the second half of this, but I want to know what y'all think about this so far in the comments and in the chat. Is this something that could possibly just end here in the next 4 weeks before this even goes to trial? I'll be interested to see. We're going to keep learning about this. And if it does go to a second trial, y'all know we're going to cover it. Let me know what you think. Now we're going to get back into what's going to happen moving forward and what we're looking at seeing. Let's check this out again from NBC, what they say.
Simultaneously.
Yes.
All right. Michael Coyne, thank you as always. With Karen Reed's second trial fast approaching, we're hearing more from a juror in Reed's first trial. Last night, he talked about the disappointment of a mistrial. Tonight, let's look ahead. He offers insight for Reed, her legal team, and the people prosecuting her. Here's NBC 10's Eli Rosenberg.
It turns out it wasn't just Judge Beverly Cannoni.
who noticed Karen Reed's expressions during her first trial.
Excuse me, this is funny, Ms. Reed?
Ronald Stanislaw was a juror
she was
during
taking
that
shots
trial
from the...
and said the jury
Dang.
saw them too. We're about to launch another trial. What is your advice for Karen Reed?
I think some of the faces that, the expressions might have been seen by the jury. Same thing as some of the outbursts for any individuals in the wasn't really helpful.
A lot happened during that first trial. And Stanislaw says the jury could have used more details on Reed's black SUV and the Apple Watch the victim, Boston police officer John O'Keefe, was wearing when he died.
Having maybe some sort of presentation or reenactment that shows what had happened, more experts in terms of the data from the vehicle, the backing up speeds, and also the data of going up and down stairs with the Apple Watch.
What's your advice for prosecutors going into the second trial?
Somebody who is a little bit more eloquent in presenting and
they didn't like the prosecutors
more clearly, potentially, as opposed.
Why do we not? Why are these prosecutors such garbage, man? What happened? What happened to this DA's office? They need to do an overhaul. We need to get somebody in there to coach these DAs up.
Trial.
Somebody who is a little bit more eloquent in presenting and speaking more clearly, potentially, as opposed to sometimes mumbling, is kind of important when presenting the pieces. I think that those are the most important pieces in terms of prosecution.
What is your advice to the jury ahead of this second trial?
Make sure you take good notes and tab the notes, because during the deliberation, it was very difficult if you're trying to remember, what did that person say, and trying to look through all of those pages. I wish everybody the best. Hopefully there is ultimately closure.
And talking with Ronald, the juror there, he says he really thinks prosecutors and the defense would benefit from shortening the trial. That first trial lasted some 9 weeks, and only calling the most important witnesses. And yes, he says he will be watching that second trial. In Boston, Eli Rosenberg, NBC 10 Boston.
Sue O'Connell, our courtroom insider, joins the conversation now on Canton Confidential. You were in that courtroom almost as much as Ronald, and we spoke a lot here, even more so seeing it on social media, discussion about Karen Reed's mannerisms in the courtroom. A juror was picking up on that. Is she going to have to be more careful about that in the second trial, do you think?
You know, Glenn, this is one of those issues. So I have a talent coach. We have a talent coach.
Yeah.
Right? When I came from radio to television, one of the first things he said to me was, listen, I know you're listening to the guest, but you have to look like you're listening to the guests because you're on television. So I would say to Karen Reed, I'm sure you're sad that John O'Keefe has passed, whether you did it or not, and I'm sure you hate that you are on trial for this and this has ruined your life, but you need to look a little bit more empathetic. But if that's not who she is, because we all grieve differently, we all express emotions differently, to try and pretend to be someone you're not might be more of
that's a good point.
Damage to her with the jury than she is who she is, and this is what you get. I mean, again, we all grieve differently, we all react differently. This also happened a long time ago for her. It's been hell for her. I don't know what I would tell her.
Yeah, no, you're right. It's hard to win on that point because I've seen inauthenticity be a death knell as well. So you want to avoid that.
And she's consistent.
Yeah, I guess that's true. All right, let's talk about the Commonwealth, the prosecutors in this case. We also spent a lot of time around this table talking about Adam Lally, and he did not come in for great marks. It does seem like we've had a quality improvement with Brennan. How do you expect the jury will receive him compared to how they received Lally?
I think already you can see that Brennan is a clearer communicator than Lally was. He is a better storyteller. And when I say storyteller, I'm not saying making stuff up, just putting pieces together in a way that people can understand. You can see him while he's doing it during the hearing for Judge Cannoni, who you certainly know doesn't need to be razzle-dazzled. She's just looking for the facts. So I think the jurors' points about not sometimes understanding Lally, I've talked to some experts after the trial and talked about, as you know, I tried to experience it as a juror. I didn't go back and Google things that I saw experts say
that's what I'm trying to do as well.
On the stand. And there were whole bits that I missed because I didn't get it clearly communicated to me. So I think there's going to be a dramatic change here. Brennan definitely is a better communicator than Lally.
Okay, and then on the other side of the table with the defense attorneys in this case, in these pretrial hearings, they've faced a lot of pushback from Beverly Cannoni. Do you feel like they still have command of the situation going into the second trial? Because they did seem to perform very well at the start of the first trial.
So all of this that we're watching right now, all of these hearings, this is all the making of the sausage, right? And it's really not for the benefit of us. It's for the benefit of the case and for the benefit of Judge Cannoni. Certainly both sides are trying to salt the water, churn the water a little bit for future jurors somewhere or for us to get some narratives and pick it up. But this is just each of these sides trying to make the points that they want to forward their case. So whether they have missteps now or they're successful now or they seem successful or not successful, it's not going to matter. When they get into that courtroom, if they do on jury selection on April 1st, I think they'll all be firing with all their cylinders.
All right, Sue, we're getting pretty close to doing this all over again.
Yes, we are.
We're almost there.
It's a 3-day assignment for me.
And it took 3 months. Sue O'Connell, our political commentator and courtroom insider. Thank you.
All right, so let me know what y'all think. This is going to be an interesting case. I think we're going to make it, and this case isn't going anywhere. We'll be ready to go on April 2nd or April 1st, depending on when we start. And this is going to be an interesting one for sure. So let me know what y'all think about this in the comments and in the chat. All right, y'all, we did it. Another great show in the books. Thank y'all for the support. Welcome LTO in the building to Gold. I appreciate you. Thank you for joining. Make sure you check out all the membership, our members only content we have over there as well. Yeah, we're going to be covering Jarvis too. So we're going to be, we're definitely going to be busy. No, they were not married, apparently. Apparently they just, it was just boyfriend and girlfriend. So we will be covering the Naziah Harris trial as well. So we're going to be busy. That's for sure. Thank you to everybody that liked the video. Over 700 of you liked the video so far. I appreciate y'all. Thank y'all so much for the love. And of course, we're going to be back. We're going to finish the week strong tomorrow morning. So make sure y'all tune in for that. If you haven't yet liked the video on your way out, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you don't miss any time we go live or drop a new video. Looking forward to seeing y'all in the next one. Hope you have a great afternoon. And as always, you know what to do. Keep growing, keep pushing, keep it classy. We gone. Peace.